Hello and welcome back to Wake and Jake live in New York City. Myself, Jake Ronald Storielli, and David Mendelson, as we catch you up on the catch-up. How about Shohei Ohtani? You probably haven't heard. He signed with the Blue Dodgers, the blue team, the Dodgers, 10 years, $700 million. Man, I've texted that number a lot. And I think on the plane when it broke, I showed Jess. I don't think I've said verbally 10 years, $700 million. That's a lot of quiche. We will talk about that a little bit. I'll probably end up mentioning Juan Soto because my excitement has kind of been individual. And it should be a fun day in the office because there will be a large Dominican man who will bust in at one point and say, "Can we talk Juan Soto?" He's been saying that for about a year and a half. Couple other smaller baseball updates I can clear the board on. I like Jeimer to Cincy. Why not? Although they still need pitching, but they'll trade for it. And we'll get some BBD winter meeting updates. And we'll get some wedding updates. Cole Tucker and Vanessa Hudgens. Table at the wedding. I texted Cole months ago because I was like, what is this, Reggie? I shouldn't be here. It's okay. I was like, hey, man, when you start doing tables and stuff, tables for weddings is actually, it was my strength, and I like it. It's a game.
Number of spots at a table.
Yeah, it's a fun puzzle. You're going to end up with an ugly table, but if you do things right, you should be fine. You know, you separate kind of everyone before, like who should be together, who was the versatile piece. I basically told Cole, like, hey, I can be the versatile piece. If I'm at a table with some of, like, Vanessa's LA people, or if I'm with your cousins you don't talk to or something like that, like, I'll be good. Like, I'm at the dance. March Madness. I just survive in advance. Table. Jack Flaherty and his significant other. Tyler Glasnow and his significant other. Chris Archer riding solo. And then it was supposed to be Trev and Olivia, but they had to bail because their kids were sick. So there was a little hollowness because everywhere I went should have been with Trev, and that would have been a lot more fun for me. Not a lot more fun, but he's my guy.
Having a go-to person at anything is great.
It's a great way to put it. I have a couple more notes on that, but I think you guys probably want. So it's a big episode. So let's do a little more Shohei Ohtani. Buy yourself some merch at the store. The holiday season's coming up December 11th. I think we've got some deals going on. Because if you want to buy stuff from our store, it's safer to do it now because we kind of can't do like the week of stuff.
This is the last week to like guarantee you get it in time.
I think I saw a 25% off thing pop up. Yeah.
Briefly before Shohei, there's a lot of time at the bar. I was also at tables with Chris Archer.
Yes.
At that, which was a surprise.
Archers.
Just the man.
I'll get to that. Know who was not a 25% discount? It was Shohei Ohtani. Approximately 25% more than people thought he was going to go for even.
Like the number it landed at is one that we like started laughing about being on the table when he was healthy.
If it wasn't 500 plus, I think everyone would have been shocked the wrong direction. I think after he got hurt the second time, everyone kind of landed at like 550. Like 6 would have still been pow. Like
nobody's done 6.
6 still would have been like, holy smokes, a baseball player's getting $600 million. The fact he lands at 7, 10 years, $70 million per, kind of. We're still waiting for the contract details, which said most of the money is deferred, which I'm going to have to see that to believe that because I don't know if you're anyone that's taken any financials class ever, they tell you that's like a bad idea on your end. No, I don't, we've seen this with Max Scherzer. We've seen a few Nationals contracts that have done this. They've been like MLB's team. I don't think it's as bad as the lottery ticket equation that you learn in school, and they're like, take the lump sum, because if you invested in it at an 8% clip, you'll get more money. And it's like, okay. Shohei doesn't have to worry about money the same way we do, but if the tweet that came out said more than half was deferred. So what does that mean? Is that $400 million deferred? Because when you guys did the Breaking Shohei podcast, new on John Boy Media, it's, I don't know. That's, if you're deferring that much money at a certain point, if you're Shohei, the business person, like that can change a lot. Like you guys were talking about how we look at contracts now. Like Christian Yelich's contract used to seem like crazy money, and I think we did the math the other day. It was like 6 for 120 left, or 5 for 120. Like it, all of these contracts, not all of them, but most of these contracts, as time goes, it feels a little better. Like I was laughing at Erod, which I guess we should talk about here. Which, by the way, I do like that contract, 4 for 80, and I know there's an option in there. Remember, wasn't Mad Bum 5 for 100 or 5 for 1? Like, so that's where I really like the Erod number. Anyways, let's see what happens with Shohei's contract.
Mad Bum was 585.
So you got Erod for, I don't know. I guess you shouldn't compare things to Mad Bum's Arizona Times. Let's see what comes out with the rest of Shohei's contract. The rumor is it's about AAV, so they can go and sign more guys. Let's see what happens. Very interested. And end of the day, it doesn't matter. But, if we talk about Shohei becoming a business mogul, and how about LeBron getting a Las Vegas basketball team? Do you see all that? You're an NBA
a little
guy.
bit.
Dude.
I haven't deep dive on that specific story, but
I think it's, and I'm hopping around a little bit, there's a little bit of an age thing kicking in where you can just, when there's smoke, there's fire. And the whole in-season tournament pregame show was about LeBron getting a Vegas team. And ESPN wouldn't roll that whole pregame if LeBron wasn't, MJ got a Charlotte team. So there's your update. LeBron, Vegas team, 5 years or so. Bronny probably on it. And Bronny came back. Let's get back to Shohei Ohtani. Starbucks hitting this morning. Hadn't had Starbucks.
Yeah.
I mean, they have it, but you get Starbucks when you're in Mexico, and you're like, does anything matter? Shohei Ohtani. I want to go over some of the Blue Jays stuff. No, that's rude. Let's do the Dodgers and Shohei. that's that big Dominican fellow chiming in. Shohei goes to the Dodgers. I think a lot of people in the baseball world weren't super surprised when it was announced Dodgers. I think the $700 million shook you up. The game that I keep playing with myself, and I think we're going to do it on Talking Baseball in a little bit, is how do you look at those numbers, hitter and pitcher? I think hitter is 400, 450. Pitcher is 300, 250. Double Tommy John. Or, the secret, in college, one of our buddies used to do a this or that question, and then he'd always go secret third option. It's just comical after a certain point. The secret third option of all this is the business side of it. At the end of the day, Shohei's going to bring in so much money because he taps into a whole nother market that has a ton of money. He's from Japan. They are a baseball-driven country. Baseball-driven. That sounds a little dramatic. But they love baseball. And they love stars, man. And Shohei is both of that. And he's already been a star over there. And remember we watched that documentary on their, what's that thing called? Their midsummer tournament?
Koshian.
Remember his high school coach laughed when they were like, hey, is Shohei going to be good? It's Shohei's going to destroy you fuckers. He was right. To the tune of $700 million. So, the Dodgers. Man, some fun stuff at the top of that lineup, huh? Mookie, Freddie, Shohei. The batting order conversation, I think, is going to be fun there. Not that either of those guys really have any splits. Mookie's always been the leadoff guy. They have it as Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, Will Smith, Max Muncy's still there. James Outman had a really good season. Chris Taylor, Jason Hayward, Gavin Lux, Miguel Vargas was a young guy for them last year. Let's see what else they do lineup-wise. Mookie playing second base every day still doesn't pass my sniff test. I could be wrong. Like, he's Mookie Betts. He's Mookie Betts. He played second base fine. If I'm the Dodgers right now, what I have with Jason Hayward and Chris Taylor is I have a really nice platoon. And we know the Dodgers like a platoon, and they like bench options. Gavin Lux, who got hurt before last year and was aiming for a breakout season. This I haven't seen this brought up, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. At the end of last baseball season, Anthony Volpe got worn out. And that's what happens with kids. You don't play baseball that long every day. Like, you feel it. I know you have young legs, but you just get worn out. That's the phrase. Like, you're not necessarily sore or broken. You're just worn out. And I've got a note on that. One of the newest friends of the pod from the wedding, totally out of left field, Pete Crow Armstrong was at the wedding. Awesome.
Love that.
21 years old. Super, like, polite. Like, respectful. But also, like, a silly boy who was having some fun at the wedding, and he was like, big fan of what you guys are doing, blah, blah, blah. I was shocked. Like, I looked at him, and I was like, okay, he's got the baseball player hair. He's, like, redheaded. I was like, I think I know that guy. And then at the wedding, he comes up, he dabs me up. He's like, dude, been waiting to say hi to you. Like, big fan of what you guys are doing. He's like, great to meet you in person. And I was like, yeah, man, same. And I was with Jess, and I was like, oh, and this is my wife, Jess. He goes, oh, I'm Pete. And it, like, all clicked. And I was like, holy shit. Not the biggest dude in the world.
Really?
For a guy that made it to the show at 20? But awesome guy. He's in it forever. But when we were talking,
discrepancies on his height.
What's he listed at? Maybe I was on a hill.
His Google listed him 6'1". Baseball Reference has him 5'11".
Yeah, I'll let you do with that what you want.
I think he and I are probably seeing eye to eye.
Maybe I was standing on the high ground. For me, it was one of those things, and I mean, they're baseball players, so like their bodies don't have to be built like football or NBA guys necessarily. But
beauty of the sport a little bit.
Jess asked me if he was a baseball player after we talked baseball. Anyways, Gavin Lux, 26 years old. So he's more of a man than that. He's played MLB seasons, sure. Shortstop is a different animal. And Gavin Lux coming off a torn ACL, I just don't think that's smart business by the Dodgers to roll them out as their everyday shortstop. He's played 129 games in a season. That's his most games played. His second most is 102. So Gavin Lux doesn't have like that 155, 160 season in there. And that season that he played 129 games, 102 were at second. Only 9 were at short. So, Mookie Betts, one of the best defensive right fielders ever. You're moving him after 30 to second base. Now, that's ignoring who Mookie Betts is, the bowler, what can't he do, et cetera, et cetera. Mookie Betts can play second base. Gavin Lux being your everyday shortstop. I like Gavin Lux. We met Gavin Lux. Nice dude. Also kind of balled out and was primed for a breakout season, but he missed a full year of ball. And for the Dodgers, who just who just paid Shohei $700 million, you got Mookie, you got Freddie. They're about to add a lot of pitching too. It doesn't pass the sniff test that Mookie Betts is your everyday second baseman and Gavin Lux is your everyday shortstop. I told you guys on here, half jokingly, half why not. Corbin Burns and Willie Adames, both in the last year of their contracts. Milwaukee kind of in a retool. Dodgers always with young talent to burn, seemingly. Milwaukee probably a team that would take a 3 or 4 prospect package of guys that will contribute and not necessarily like the guy. I don't know. I think Dodgers need innings bad. And I think if you put Willy Adames on that team, he's the shortstop. Lux goes to second. Mookie's the starting outfield. And then you have a platoon options with Taylor and Hayward. Like, isn't that the Dodgers? Isn't that the Dodgers that we've come to know the past few years? I haven't talked about Shohei enough. Awesome that it got to $700 million. Shout out Nez Balello. We're obviously close to the situation because he was Trev's agent. Not sure he's going to still answer Trev's text.
That winter meeting story, briefly. At lunch, day one, Ollie came over and said a very nice hello, and we chatted for a while. So that was a nice moment.
Ollie's the man.
Best ever.
Ollie, best bunter ever. Trev's friend from growing up, CA agent. Won't represent Trev. Do with that what you want. And another thing, like, I know we like Gavin Lux. 2022, he was 24 years old. He had a 109 OPS plus. Career 94 OPS plus. So, like, I know shortstop's a different beast. Miggy Rowe's still on the team. He played a lot of short for them last year. We love Miggy Rowe. Do we still not know the Dodgers-Yankees trade? What's that about? Nothing?
Michael Bush, maybe.
I don't know. That Dave, I feel like that Dave Roberts, everyday second baseman quote is going to come back as one of those winter meetings. Brian Cashman has the Bubba Crosby as our center fielder quote. Like, I think that's one of those gamesmanship moves. Shohei, not going to pitch next year? Question mark? We'll see. I'm not going to doubt that guy ever, especially potential bullpen role. Like, if the Dodgers are lining up for the World Series and he's healthy, I don't know. It's also a $700 million investment. We'll see. I think you play that by ear, and if it looks good, it looks good, which I think it will with this guy. I want to focus on the hitting a little bit more because, Shohei has some pitching numbers that jump off the board. Like, I know when you look at some of his pitch effectiveness, like some of his pitches are the best pitches in baseball. He just had his second Tommy John. Do I think it changed the number that much? Not really. Not really. I think people believe in, like, the medical side of it now. And the overarching thing of all of this is Shohei's the most marketable baseball player with a bonus market. Like, this is if Aaron Judge could pitch and was also from Japan. Like, I know you guys already know this, but it has to make dollars and cents. Like, the thing we always come back to baseball-wise is these owners aren't losing money. Like, you don't hear about a lot of teams going bankrupt. That never really happens. I think it used to happen, like, in the 70s and 60s.
Certainly in my life, I don't think any team has been sold for less than that owner bought it
for. These are run by very savvy business people, and that was the thing that I came back to on here and Talking Baseball during the year. I thought a team was going to come out of the woodwork that whoever talked to the owner, a business savvy person, would say, like, hey, like, Shohei's going to bring us in over 10 years $1.3 billion. So if you want to go to 700 mil, 800 mil. Turns out it was the same team we basically thought it was. However, and closing off the Dodgers side of it, before I hit you with the Stephen A. However, what's that about? Dodgers are going to add a lot of pitching. Their current rotation is Walker Buehler coming off Tommy John, Bobby Miller coming off a good rookie year, Ryan Pepio coming off an okay young start to his career, Emmett Sheehan with an 60 innings. Pepio had 42. Ryan Yarborough twirling it. If I had to guess, I think the Dodgers are adding at least 3 starting pitchers. And, I liked how Trev teed it up in our group chat. Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, 2 guys that will be back for 2025 for sure. Hopefully you'll have a full tilt Walker Buehler in 2025. The Dodgers are lined up for 1-year rentals kind of perfectly. that Tyler Glasnow, Shane Bieber, Corbin Burns, trying to be on that. Those guys make a lot of sense, and like they're the Dodgers. We still need to respect them as the Rays. Like, think some of the guys they've tapped into pitching wise. I'm sure there's an easy free agent value out there to them, and maybe they're in on Yamamoto. Maybe they're in on Snell. Like Blake Snell doesn't have a team still. So there's still pitching to be had out there. Jordan Montgomery. Let's see what goes on there. The Dodgers are going to make a lot of moves. They're probably going to be World Series favorites because the top of their lineup is Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Muncy. I see you guys. You're there, and you're studs. It's incredible. Awesome for Dodgers baseball. Probably watch, couple 10:05 starts, see those first at-bats in LA at least. Old talk. Let's go to the Blue Jays side of this. And this can kind of lead into some winter meeting stuff as well, Bieberton, because I enjoyed this whole thing differently. I was on vacation, wedding, into honeymoon, kind of. We stayed at different resorts. I've never done that. Like sometimes Jess forgets that I was going to say I'm not a house cat. Not a saying. I don't know. We stayed at like nice places, and that's like what you're supposed to do, but I was a little out of place at times. And I don't know, our whole society's fucked not to do this whole speech right now, but like we were at this gorgeous pool, and everyone was on their phones, Because what are you going to do? Are you going to walk up to the stranger across the pool, start a conversation? Do they speak English? Do you like them? Do they like the stuff you like? Like it's first day of school vibes. Or are you going to go on your phone and do all the stuff you like?
I know I like these things.
Do I want to listen to my music, listen to my podcasts, text my buddies, play coffee golf? Played so much coffee golf.
Oh,
nasty, cracked. But it was also one of those things like, oh, this pool probably, I was going to say 20 years ago. Is that not enough? Yeah, 20 years ago.
I think that's fair.
Whenever iPhones started becoming like the thing, it probably would have been a different scene. So, not really sure what that was about. But I was checking in because I was excited, and these places had good Wi-Fi that I was like, hey, if there's something and I can poke my head in, I will. Juan Soto to the Yankees, love that. Shohei to the Blue Jays. Okay. So, Biebs, you said this was the hot topic at winter meetings. Kind of the whisper campaign of sorts, no?
Definitely whisper campaigny. Every move in baseball was waiting for either Soto to be traded or Ohtani to sign before anybody else would do really anything.
Right.
So it was all there was to gossip about were those two topics.
Yeah, that was tough, man. Each free agency is its own year. This year is the one I've seen the most controlled by those two pieces because it was kind of the same teams.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. The Padres were such a wild card the other year. Soto happens to the Yanks. Everyone kind of knew that trade for 48 hours, which was kind of nuts.
We knew the exact package for so long.
Another piece would leak in every 8 hours just to like confirm it. Talk about that. Talking Yanks. Check it out. New show. Shohei to the Blue Jays. So here's what we have going on. The Mets, for whatever reason, never became serious Shohei contenders for everything we know. For me, the moment Steve Cohen bought the team, it seemed like the easiest dot to connect. I have funny money. I bought a New York sports team that somewhat doesn't get treated as a New York sports team. If I bring in this guy, international superstar, only unicorn, like that is how I make the Mets not the Mets. Mets never became rumored. And we'll see what they do with the rest of their offseason because they're supposedly building for 25. They're supposed to be in on Yamamoto. They're supposed to come to the finish line with the Yankees on that. Some smart people in baseball have told me if Steve Cohen will not be outbid for what he wants. So if he wants Yamamoto, he'll get that. Either way, they were never real Ohtani rumors. Okay. New York Yankees, the team that used to operate that way. If George was still running the team, Ohtani would be a Yankee, probably Soto. And that would have been cool. And I was pushing that on the internet for a little bit just to be a punk. But the Yankees were never rumored for Ohtani. Never.
Never even got, like, fake stuff. We
We
never even got, like, a one phone call that got blown out of proportion.
There used to be a Cardinals fantasy dream world. That never happened. Seattle took themselves out instantly. The Padres ran out of money. Anaheim. I'm not even going to give you guys your speech that you know you should be getting right now. The Braves were the Braves and the Cubs. Cubs
were a little more expected.
Cubs were supposedly in. We've been waiting for the Cubs to do their, like, chips all in move.
You think they've got a big one in them this offseason?
Like, I had a pretty good laugh in my head that Ian Happ is the guy that, like, re-signed from those teams.
Yeah.
I laughed because Happ's like a friend, and I was just... And then I did a fun game, like, who would you rather have, Ian Happ or Rizzo? Little plain conversation. We've been waiting for the Chicago Cubs, both Chicago sports teams, to make the big free agent signing. White Sox, come on. And then for the Cubs, their biggest move ever was Hayward, which was ironic with all the guys that they've had go through there.
And they did sign Dansby last year.
They signed Dansby.
They get involved every few off seasons with they mix in a big one.
The Cubs were one of the first, like, we have good contending players, but we think it's smart to rebuild for a couple years. And they did that. And everyone was kind of like, you, Cubs. But now they're back, and supposedly they were super in on Ohtani, and let's see where the rest of their free agency goes. Because the one moment, and I'll never tell Trevor this, but I will in a couple hours on Talking Baseball. When I was really missing Trev, got in Thursday night. We were supposed to get dinner with Trev and Olivia. They obviously didn't make it. So me and Jess got dinner. Cool spot. Tulum. Tulum's like a party city. It's like Miami. It's like Miami, Vegas. Like, I think Tulum was supposed to be like kind of hippy-dippy spiritual. It has some of that, but it's become a full-blown party, bachelorette club in town. Anyways, so the next day, wake up, bong, go to the gym, obviously. Meet Tyler Glasnow and his significant other in the gym, obviously. Me and Jess with them was funny, like the avatars with like the real humans. But also,
there's levels to these things.
Glasnow is who you think he is. Like he's
sweetheart,
silly dude, like kind of intense, but like in a delightful way. So like, okay, that interaction goes great. You know, he does stuff with Rosie. I knew, you know, we've DM'd before, but it was our first time meeting in person, so we were like jazzed up. Okay, go to breakfast, see Jack Flaherty. Like, bang, this is out of a movie. You know, separate tables. We're not doing, you know, Jack's kind of his own guy. But you know, but hey, how are you? Whatever. Yeah, excited to see you. Let's have a weekend. All that. Head to the beach. On the beach, doing the baseball player, you know, working on his swing and talking about point of contacts. And man, there's a couple celebs there. Jacob Nottingham.
Ooh.
Like, there's guys like that throughout the wedding that you feel bad being the baseball guy because it's like, is that? Mm-hmm. I think I know that. Mitch Keller, our guy. Okay, now he's just name dropping. Cody Bellinger is on the beach just talking, hitting, I think with Nottingham, for no joke, an hour and a half. And I haven't met him yet. I kind of forgot about the Hap connection. That would have been a lot easier. If Trev was there, we're on the beach and I'm the ball and we're talking hitting. Like, but at that point, I didn't want to walk up and do the whole like, oh, Jake from John Boy Me, like, oh, how's things? Like, I just wasn't ready for that yet. Like, the welcome party hadn't happened yet. At the end of it, I walked over because Glass now like joined them, and I walked over and did some hey, how are yous? But that was one of those, like, that would have just kicked off the weekend totally differently if Trev was there. We'll finish with more of that. This whole thing was about the Toronto Blue Jays. I never fully believed. I'm sorry. The things they had going for them, they do need a lefty bat. Like, Brandon Belt was a breath of fresh air for them last year. They have those impact righties. We've talked about, like, I think you either have to trade a Bichette or Vladdy. Everyone was leaning Bichette, depending what you could get for Vladdy. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. But maybe that was too Yankee BS, because if they signed Ohtani, that lineup's crazy. And Toronto, for years, and I respect the concept from the fans, they have a ton of money. They're Canada's team. Their TV stuff, which still, I don't get how it still runs baseball, but nobody watches TV. I don't get it. But apparently Toronto kills it at that they've got tons of money, and we've seen them go get Ryus and Springers. Like, they've made impact moves. Gossman. They paid Barrios a lot of money. Like, the Blue Jays are a big market team. They have a lot of money. There's some weird stuff between taxes in Toronto and just living in Canada. Like, I think a lot of people aren't super comfortable with that. Like, not in a bad way. I don't know. You can say it with a lot of towns. Like, I don't know. Some people don't want to live in Texas. Some people don't want to live in New York City. Like, it's not a shot at Toronto. It's just a step different. So, following from my phone, I never believed it. I had a couple people text me that were like, hey, why aren't you guys reporting Shohei is signed with Toronto? And I was like, whoa, dude, because Shohei ain't signed. You get that wrong, that's forever. That's in your replies forever. If I tweeted out Shohei is signing with Toronto, and then he didn't, which he didn't, that's like number one reply for a month, and it's in my forever. You'd be known as like the person who reported, dude, sources? Oh, is Ohtani signing again? That's forever. So I was laughing because I'm on vacation. When you actually do report something, there's an odd amount of stress that just instantly comes with it. That I was like, you could show me a picture of the contract and I wouldn't tweet that out right now. Like, don't care.
No, not on this one.
And the thing that didn't pass the sniff test for me, because, okay, the flight tracker stuff, all about it.
Fun.
Like, that's fun. I love college football season when the coaching carousel starts and it's like, oh, okay. Ooh, Lane Kiffin just took a flight to Ole Miss. Like, I love that. That's kind of fun. That's like us cheating the system. Because otherwise you shouldn't know that. The word that kept throwing me off was John Morosi. Well, everyone was saying it. Imminent. I think Morosi said it. I think a couple people said, the Shohei decision is imminent. They kept saying that. That threw me off because in this whole process that was, silent, Dave Roberts saying we had a good meeting was tisk. Dave? How could you say that, dude? We're talking to these chicks, man, and you blew it. Like, that was drama. Dave Roberts saying they had a good meeting with Shohei was drama. It's nothing. That's nothing. So, Shohei still hasn't signed yet. And then a team kind of not out of the woodwork, but if the Blue Jays, for Shohei's free agency, the DraftKings odds would have had the Blue Jays as the fifth team. Like Dodgers, Cubs.
At the beginning of it.
I still think like the Mets, I still would have had them above.
They always
Giants.
give the Yankees weirdly high odds.
Giants.
The
Blue Jays would have been in that second or third tier of teams, depending however you look at it. For me, I was just a little surprised that we have flight information, which, okay, I guess people can have access to that stuff. That's whatever. We had the dinner reservation, which who knows what that was. That could have just been Twitter. That could have been anything. And then the word imminent, because think about this. If you have that the Shohei signing is imminent, that means it's either coming from Shohei's camp or the team's camp, right? That one of those people would have to tell you that he's signing imminently. So, when Dave Roberts saying we had a good meeting was the biggest shun X, how could this be happening? To have all of these details come out about a team, kind of like a little bit of a wild card team, a team that does have a lot of money. For me, it felt like a price drive and move the whole time. And again, I wasn't connected to it. I was very much disconnected from the world. So that's where, Beebs, I know you were at winter meetings where it had to feel a little different if everyone was saying that.
There's definitely a lot of chatter about it. And I eventually started believing it to a point of spite because, like, what the chatter really was like, just don't be dismissive of it. Like, they are actually involved.
Right.
And then when people started being, like, dismissive of it, then you start being a little more antsy about it the other way. Like don't know it, like, might happen.
Right.
And
that's the other thing I should say is, like, it's not like I felt willing to tweet out, like, Shohei not going to Toronto, LOL.
Yeah.
Like, it was in play.
Yeah, like it would have been, even if Friday night, the day everyone started saying it happened, you would have raised your eyebrows real big.
It's Canota, Seattle.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was like,
this
no.
won't ultimately happen. Like, for better or worse, the last few years, it feels like the Blue Jays have been, like, the team most used for leverage outside of, like, the Yankees, that will always be agents' number one playbook is the Yankees. So there's a little bit of that, but just Shohei specifically, like, the chatter was that was a destination he really liked. He was a guy who was not scared off by living in Canada. He already lives in a different country from where he's from, so that's not a big draw.
There's a demographic
there's tax
thing.
implications for Japanese players that are kinder in Canada than for American players. So, as far as percent of contract earned, he's one of the few people in the world that would have benefited from Canada. That was the chatter, at least. I don't know what the rules are. This is a guy that signed with the Angels last time. He
That's
is
true.
down to subvert some expectations.
That's true.
And like he had, people were saying he was interested in the idea of being like a baseball king of three countries. There was some of all of that. Blue Jays have been wanting to spend money. This is a guy they would go all in on. I feel like I'm missing some talking points that I had, but
no, I mean
all that was just going around. It's like no, they are in play.
And I guess the other thing that was so much over my head, again, not being in touch with the every minute refreshing the phone updates, although I was refreshing a decent amount, depending what I was doing that day, guys. We just did this with Judge. Like, negotiations and leverage, like, it's the whole deal. So
it's the game we're playing.
And think about what Judge did last year. He flew on a private plane to meet with the Padres, emergency meeting. And remember, he was at, what was it, Monday or Sunday Night Football the night before? And he was also
Tampa.
like the Sportsman of the Year, like the day before that. Like, Judge had a whole PR leverage plan that executed perfectly, and the Padres, shockingly, became a part of that plan, along with Arson Judge. Like, who knows how much that tied in with the Giants. But, Judge executed a whole thing that got him to where he wanted to be with the Yanks negotiating-wise. To have Shohei sign the day after all of that, I don't know. And he signs with the team everyone would have bet he was signing with. Again, I wasn't in the every minute of it, but it all felt like it made sense to me. And the receipts I mentioned, again, someone was like, dude, a couple people were like, go live with this. You should tweet it out right now. Like, he wouldn't be flying to Toronto if he wasn't signing. And for me, I was even raising an eyebrow at that, because I was like, if you're trying to get this kind of contract, wouldn't it be worth a dummy flight?
Yeah.
Like flying like if you're Shohei and you really want to get another year at $70 million out of the Dodgers, isn't it worth the flight to Toronto to meet with their team?
Yeah, meet with them.
I think so. The
Yankees hosted Machado.
That's what I said. The people talking that I was talking to were kind of rolling their eyes at that, not believing in it. And it became funny because neither of us were wrong because he didn't end up taking a flight. But that was also my point. Like, hey, I'm not reporting anything unless it's like done, and not of that magnitude. If I'm being honest,
And this was a specific free agency that just feels we didn't need to mess around in there. I think that was one of the other ones that people were talking about, like Brian Windhorst meme. Like, why are we even talking about that the Blue Jays are one of like the 4 finalists right now? This was Monday or whatever. If that's not a team Shohei's actually interested in going to, like, well, because they're, like we just said, they're probably 6th, 7th. I don't know on our list. November 1st, if we put out our best odds to get them, that's about where they land. Like, and they were not a favorite going in. Why would we even be talking about them if they weren't very involved, or at least of note? And I think that was the other one I was missing before, as far as just why there's starting to be a lot of smoke.
There was a lot,
and
of
I think
smoke.
it was real, but
there was parts of it that were real. But Shohei signed with the team he wanted to be with the most, and I think the team that wanted him the most got him. And usually that's kind of how it breaks down.
Kind of a magic formula.
Excited to see it. It's probably good for baseball that he's there. Would have been cool with one of the East Coast teams, obviously, but can only control so much. Excited to see the Dodgers' next moves. 3 starting pitchers and a shortstop would be my guess. We'll see what else they've got going on. For the Blue Jays, I guess for the Blue Jays and for the rest of general free agency, I think this changed the game. Because if I'm Yamamoto, I just told you, 300 mil or 250 mil is for Ohtani, and I said that looming thing over his head is because he's got a different market. Yamamoto's got the same market. And he projects, at this point, after double Tommy John, and the fact that he's 3 or 4 years younger, Yamamoto contractually projects to be a better pitcher with the business side that Ohtani brings. I know he hasn't built that yet, and Shohei is a unicorn, but
Shohei's like 1-1 over there, but
Yamamoto's 300 mil, I think. I think we'll see. And if I'm Cody Bellinger, and this is again where you have to understand it was weird for me because here I am Monday morning after the vacation just talking about it. If I'm Cody Bellinger, okay, Ohtani the hitter just got paid $400 million, $450 million. Ohtani doesn't play defense. So Cody doesn't have the business side behind it necessarily. I don't know how big he is in Japan. But if I'm Cody Bellinger, my price just went up. I can play every outfield position in first base.
Well,
I can hit similarly to him. Like, his price went up. Snell. If you had to take one guy as a pitcher for the next 10 years is tough.
7
years. I think I would take Snell. I mean, you automatically lose.
You're getting 1 year that will be 0, if not very close to 0. And
it's not apples to apples. But I think everyone, especially Yamamoto, just got a big boost. And if you're Toronto, I'm not sure what your audible is because that was the Heyman LOL Blue Jays tweet after. They're looking for an impact lefty bat. The only guy you can really point to is Cody. But I know the Cubs, who supposedly were in on Ohtani and wanted to make these massive moves, they lost Cody Bellinger. They currently have lost Cody Bellinger and Marcus Stroman. So if you're the Cubs and you just want to get back to neutral, while meanwhile the Cardinals are making a lot of moves in your division, the Reds are supposedly tick up, and you are willing to throw, let's say, 600, 500 million at Shohei Ohtani. Like they misread the market, but they were willing to throw 500 at him. You got moves to make just to get back to where you were last year. Stroman was great. Cody was great. So I'm interested to see what they do. What are the Blue Jays going to do? You know, are they going to go from we were just about to go chips all in to Shohei to trading away Vlad or Bichette? Like, that's a whole different map. And then you still have, like, the Giants have been lurking, waiting to make their big move. Dodgers still need a lot. Yankees need pitching. The Mets, does everyone think they're just going to be silent this free agency when they're supposed to go in on Yamamoto? The Braves have been half quiet. I say half quiet for a reason. Reynaldo Lopez and Pierce Johnson. How about the Kelenic trade? That had to be fun, huh?
Yeah.
That had to be a good winter meeting spike.
A little bit. So it happened Sunday night. Monday's the first day. And Jolly he had a very early flight to Nashville and kind of had to bop around all day waiting for me to get there. And we had a whole long setup process because the resort that Winter Meetings was at
Grand
was
Opry.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like an actual maze. It looks amazing in video and pictures. Not one attendee had anything nice to say about it.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "This is the worst place ever."
Jess was shocked it was there. Jess was
it's
like,
just a huge place.
Jess was like, "Hey, that's not in Nashville," and she's like, "Why is baseball there?" It's always a good question. I don't know.
Place big enough, but
God.
So it was just crazy. So we had a long day with setup and all that. So Jolly and I passed out at like 9 that night. 10 on the East Coast. So that happened like around midnight. And so we woke up. Jolly didn't beat the sleeping allegations. And, but it was a good start to have that on there in the morning.
So that was a fun one. I can't believe they salary dumped Kelenic. That's Mariners fans. That 53% quote has to be haunting right now. Because I don't know. Are they going to do anything?
The only part of that trade that really makes sense for the Mariners, obviously, I know they're salary dumping, getting off it. They must not really believe in Kelenic and believe they're selling him on a high because he had a nice year. That's the only part of it that would fully make sense. And they need to have an answer move because they've also
are they a Matt Chapman team? Because they've
also traded their other strikeout guys and wouldn't risk qualifying offer to Teoscar. So
there hasn't been a Matt Chapman team. I don't know. That's for another time. I'll clean up some other quick baseball things before we get back into some fun stuff and a little foosball because caught the freak end. Let's see. Sorting by AAV. Erod to the Snakes. I like it. I don't love it. I think, going from Comerica or the Tiger Stadium to Chase Field, there's going to be some days when Erod gets hit around a little bit. That being said, he can deal with that. He played at Fenway. So that's where, I know Jimmy was talking about his career ERA, and it's good to be a lefty. You can't just go straight ERA with Erod because he spent most of his career pitching in Boston. So you got to go ERA plus there. Let me see where his ERA plus lands career-wise because that's a very different number, 112. So 12% better than his career averages. He just cleared 30, which is always scary. And, hey, the Snakes need good innings, and Erod's going to at least give you that, at least, with a chance to be high-end. 152 to the tune of a 3.3 last year. That's a 134 ERA plus. And they didn't have a lefty in their rotation, so I do like that angle. Like, I think your rotation needs different looks. And they can plug and play some innings there. So like that signing for them. Cincinnati Reds and Jeimer, little jealous. Like, again, I've been saying it all free agency. I think that Jeimer contract is going to be one of my favorite things. Because 3 for 15 at the end of the day, when you look back, it's for impact free agents to sign. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. If Jeimer has a bad year upcoming, not wishing that, the next, then he's on the books for two years, $30 million. Like that becomes an accidental sneezy free agent contract. I think everyone was surprised it was a position player, but they lost Votto. And now that really opens up the trade window for them to go get the starting pitcher. I'm sure they want Cease. I'm sure a lot of teams want Cease because he has that second year. Strikeout pitcher in Cincinnati would be big. Jeimer probably plays first for them. I think he's kind of a plus there where he's a medium at third base. Switch hitter. It's a hitting ballpark, so his stats should be there. For them, it's just the trade. Jonathan India, who's that going to be for? I like some of the White Sox thoughts there. Jonathan India has felt like a Red Sox, but they don't have pitchers to trade. Interested to see where that lands, but that was one of the fun ones for me. Nobody had that. Nobody had Jeimer to Cincy on their big board. Any other big ones I missed? Kimbrel to the Orioles, sure. Everyone can use 1 year of a power reliever. And I don't think Fetty to the White Sox. Those are innings. So what's next? Monty, Bellinger, Snell, Chapman, Yamamoto. And then the trade market's going to start going. Josh Hader, Stroman, Teoscar, Soler. Anybody else? Did Jock sign with the Phillies? Or did he just tweet out a picture of him with the Philly Fanatic? Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
I think it was his Instagram.
Know he hasn't signed, but
I think on Instagram he just posted a picture of himself in the Philly Fanatic, which doing that during your free agency. Come on, Pop. Can't do that. So that's kind of funny. And then you've got the Reese Hoskins, Flaherty's. Like, there's still bodies you can plug and play on your team. Gurriel, Teoscar, Giolito. And then I can't wait to see that starting pitching trade market. I mean, Glasnow is going to go. Burns should, but maybe they won't. Bieber, we've been through all of this. I'll do a high and tight football, and then we can finish with some more wedding and fun talk. That classic segment at the end of the show. Honestly, enjoyed a chunk of football because it's end of fantasy season. Although I didn't set my lineup the week I left, which was kind of a flex because like you're in Mexico on vacation. It's like I don't care about the world. But that Sunday when you care about football, you're like, fuck, I care about the world. New England beat Pittsburgh. No. Thursday night football. Bears lining up for that one pick. Caleb. Get ready for Chi-Town. Let's see. It was a fun NFL Sunday, like Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and that whole division where nobody really cares, but it led to some fun football. Tampa Bay wins. Baker Mayfield's out there having a good time, running into a defensive back to score a touchdown. It's fun watching him fight. I've enjoyed the Baker Mayfield career arc from, Boomer Sooner, loud, comes in the league, has a little bit of juice, then gets knocked out, and it's kind of like little quarterback running out of speed. And he's still battling. I think Baker's going to hang around for a while. And then I had a weird plain shower thought where I was like, I hope Baker becomes like a coach. Like I hope Baker stays around it. Because he's a football sicko. Go watch the highlight of him running into the end zone because it's he daps up the guy he ran into. He's like, nice hit. Like he's one of those guys, and he wasn't doing it for show. Maybe he is a little bit. Chicago beats Detroit. This was a little bit of a fraud week. That's kind of everyone's favorite word in football. What are the Detroit Lions doing? They get beat by the Chicago Bears. Fields has a big game. DJ Moore, 28-13. Detroit with a couple too many iffies on the resume right now. Chicago's got a little bit of juice too. Fields playing a lot better. They've let him off his leash. Colts, Bengals. How about Jake Browning? We love a Jake. We love a Jake.
On this show, we love Jakes.
We love a Jake, and it's a blowout, 34-14, and it shouldn't have even been that close. Because if you saw this game, the Bengals were driving to put up another score before the half. Browning hits the tight end, and the ball just kind of sits on the tight end's hand as he tries to like one hand catch it, and a linebacker literally just like snagged it, pick six, or he might have got tackled like at the 1, but that was like Indy's only hope. Browning's balling out, and kind of one of the words of the day for football today is Zach Taylor, Bengals head coach. You've heard me talk about the Cleveland Browns, who we'll get to a lot, and I was like, Kevin Stefanski, think about how much he's turned around that franchise. Like the Cleveland Browns are casually a decent football team, and that used to never happen. It's kind of the same with the Bengals, who just lost Joe Burrow, who he's the guy we gave all the credit for that. Zach Taylor, pretty good head coach, man. Jake Browning. Fun story. I think is he undrafted or 6th round? He was ready to give up on football. I think he like took another job, and then he came back to it, which everyone likes those stories. He's been balling out. Cleveland beats Jacksonville 31-27. Joe Flacco. What? 300 yards passing for Joe Flacco in the Cleveland Browns, who they improved to 8-5. AFC North. Baltimore 10-3, Cleveland 8-5, Pittsburgh 7-6, Cincy 7-6. I think everyone would take Cincy over Pittsburgh at this point without Burrow. So that's football can move quick, or it moves in those 3 to 4 game spurts. Some fun highlights from that game. I can't believe how good Evan Ingram is. I would draft Evan Ingram every year in fantasy football, just being like, this is the one. Jones throws a good deep ball, right? That's what the Talking Giants guys always tell me. Ingram can get open. He's balling for Jacksonville. God, makes me mad. Carolina, New Orleans, no. Carolina season is hitting all-time bad. While New Orleans, they're just enough to stay alive in that horrible NFC South. They're tied for first place with Atlanta and Tampa Bay, all at 6-7. My goodness. Carr isn't showing a lot of flashes. Not sure what that's about. I liked him, but he's dropping down my quarterback list. And who's flying up? Zach Wilson. I told you guys I wasn't ready to write him off as much as everyone else was. I am not giving myself pats on the back for that because it got ugly before we had one game here against Houston. That was, I think it was scoreless into the half, and then they put up 30 points. Zach Wilson played really good. You know, it's one of those things you get all the stories after the game. He texted one of the D-backs, and not Diamondbacks, defensive backs, like, oh, you know, what's the worst that can happen, man? Are they going to bench me again? Like, I'm just going to do my thing. I don't know what it means. Probably not much. Just reminder, Zach Wilson's still really young, still really talented. And I think the other thing that Zach Wilson has going on, he's got that, like, Gen Z personality that, like, kind of doesn't mesh with football super well. But maybe he gets older, things click more. This could have been a game that buys him a lot more of an NFL career. Jets take down the Texans. Baltimore versus LA. That was one of the more fun games of the day. Gets tied 31-31. Stafford makes a couple awesome throws. That won a cup in the end zone was sick. Lamar doing his thing. Zay Jones is a star. Cooper Kupp looks back and healthy. And the game gets won on a walk-off overtime punt return. And it was a sick punt return, too. I mean, all punt returns are kind of sick. But this one, it looked like they had him at the sideline 2 or 3 times, and they just didn't. And then the final tackle, he gets his heels clicked. And it looked like it was over anyways because he's probably at the 25-yard line. So if they're there, they're in field goal range, Justin Tucker. But he somehow kept his balance and scored. And the Ravens Super Bowl talk is getting very real. Very real. A lot of people are saying they're the best team in the AFC. And the Rams hype train is actually going a little bit more from this game. They've been playing a better brand of football. Everyone in on McVay again, and Stafford and Kupp and Nakua. Nakua had a sick catch. Some people say catch of the year. Some people would say Cortland Sutton catch of the year. As the Broncos, they surprised me with this one. But again, it's against the Chargers, which you guys know that's probably the sporting team and coach I'm the meanest to. So the Broncos win that game. They get an early, almost pick six deflection. Herbert's deflections, I'm going to have to ask the football people about that. Herbert gets a ton of deflections. I don't know if that's telegraphing passes or the release is too low or whatever. But it fell right into Broncos lineman's lap. They went up 7-0. I thought that might be the only offensive touchdown they scored. I've become a pessimistic Broncos offense fan. And they put up points. And I think, again, having a good head coach, think about everything I've said about Tomlin. I'm in on Sean Payton. He lost me with that opening onside kick. You know I'm back. Broncos, horsies. Imagine if they won last week. Remember they were driving with the ball? Like 10-yard line. If Russ sneaks a throw in against the Texans, horsies, they are playing a brand of football. They're at the Lions next week. That's kind of a fun game. What else do we got here? Minnesota, Las Vegas, 3-0. Aiden O'Connell versus Josh Dobbs. How quickly has the Josh Dobbs shine wore off? He got benched in this game for Nick Mullins. No. Minnesota, what's their record? Minnesota 7-6. That's funny. They play the Bengals next week. Man, ebbs and flows with teams. Like the Vikings were so hot in the streets a couple weeks ago. Not as much now. They get a win. Let's see if that matters at all. San Francisco ends up beating up on Seattle 28-16. Seattle got off to a good start, and they covered. Good teams cover. Purdy ends up throwing for 368. Debo's an absolute monster. McCaffrey's a monster. I don't know what you do with those guys. There's not much you can do. Super Bowl favorites. Speaking of Buffalo at Kansas City, this is the game that a lot of people were talking about because we had an all-time highlight taken away from us. The Travis Kelce lateral to Kadarius Toney that he runs into the end zone. And when I say lateral, I mean over-the-top pass by Kelce as he's about to get tackled by three guys. It's backyard football dream moment. Hits Toney like almost in stride. Toney turns on the burners, walks into the end zone. Kadarius Toney, offensive offsides. And Mahomes getting killed after the game because they showed his quarterback handshake with Josh Allen, and it's all he was talking about. He's like, I can't believe they called that. I won't do the actual Mahomes voice. He does his post-game presser, and it's all he's talking about. Andy Reid's talking about it. His wife's Instagramming about it. And that's always a bad look, right? Because the normal football line is supposed to be like, well, refs don't decide the games. We had a lot of other opportunities. Would have liked that call to go our way, but we should have taken it elsewhere. Chiefs didn't do that, especially Mahomes. And I don't think I hate it as much as most people. I definitely did a head turn, and I was like, oh, boy, like they're going to eat you up for that.
Surprised by it.
But it's also like, I don't know. We praise these guys for being ultimate competitors, like all the MJ stories, him playing that throw the quarters against the wall with the security team. Like Mahomes is an ultimate all-time competitor that, he's coming off the field absolutely pissed off. And that's kind of where you point the finger. So I know they want to play better, and I think there are some frustrations led by that their offense hasn't clicked or kind of felt like the Chiefs recently. But I don't know. Like, if that does not get called, I guess if that doesn't get called, I don't think anyone cares. I don't think anyone's putting out a tweet today and saying Kadarius Toney's foot was on the line. Like, I don't think that tweet's out there. Maybe it is amongst Bills fans. And I did think it was interesting that, like, I think last year it got called twice. Like, every NFL game, that got called twice. I think this year it was called 10 times. That was the 11th. So, yeah, if it's something like that, and, like, if a wide receiver does line up, I guess there's some gentleman rules that, like, the referee's supposed to be like, hey, you gotta back it up. And that didn't happen. And I think the other thing that fully brought me over on it, because if you're the person that's replying to the comment saying he's offsides, it shouldn't count, you are right. Yes. That's how rules work. Bingo-lay. The sports dreamer in me, and this was RG3, and when I first read the tweet, I couldn't believe he tweeted it. And the comments roasted him, and RG3 is not afraid of that on Twitter if you follow. Frank Wycheck passed away yesterday. Famous Tennessee Titans tight end that's known for the Music City Miracle, one of the most famous trick plays in NFL history. I'm a believer in sports and stories, and I think there would have been a lot of talk yesterday about, wow, Frank Wycheck passes away, an all-time great NFL player. You know, a lot of people remember him for the Music City Miracle, and we get a play like this the day he passed away. Some things are bigger than sports. RG3's tweet was a little aggressive, and to immediately jump to that, I was like, whoa, dude. But I was also like, that would have been kind of sick. That would have had us talking about Frank Wycheck a little more. R.I.P. Gets called off. Bills get a win in their hellacious schedule. Josh Allen has a couple throws that are just absolute sicko stuff. They go on to face them Cowboys next week, who stole the show last night. They rolled up on the Eagles big time, 33-13. Remember the story when they played last time that Dallas had a close loss, and everyone was like, hey, that's actually really good for the Cowboys. Like, it looks like they can kind of go toe for toe with this team. And they did more than that. They gave them the business. Those teams feel like they're lining up to play a third game. And a really fun, and I called out Zach Wilson for being a Gen Zer. And sorry, Gen Zers, like, I love you. Shout out to the Zoe episode, Zoe and BBD. But this had some good old school NFL football rivalry stuff going on matchup wise. These teams play a couple times a year. Like it was Micah Parsons versus the Tackles. It was Stephon Gilmore going up against A.J. Brown. Like, that was sick. Big play Slay on the other side, like against CeeDee Lamb. All of it was awesome. There was a lot of individual matchups in the game, guys that know each other, guys that play against each other, a lot of chippiness. Like, if there's a third game of this, I think it might be the game of the year. And that's kind of your football weekend. Did I miss any? No, I don't think you need to. Double Monday night matchup tonight. Tennessee at Miami, Green Bay at the Giants. Sure. Both at 8:15. Okay. Do some clicking around there. Arizona and Washington on the bye. All right. It's been a juicy episode. Let's end with more of it. I already leaked some details to you about the wedding week trip. Again, bum Treviello. Trev had to bail. Sometimes you got to be a dad. Let's see. Tulum is a party town. Like I said, it's Miami or Vegas. Like, if you're looking to do a spiritual getaway there, I'm sure there's a couple things, but the party people have taken over that town. Friday. So, Thursday's a travel day, check in. Jess and I go to a place to eat, go to bed, exhausted. Okay. Wake up, I told you, Glass, Flaherty, bang. Go to the beach that day. There's a lot of baseball boys bopping around. I'm like, I'm going to slow play this. I've got a big couple days ahead. I'm not just going to throw my hat fully in the mix. Although I said, if Trev was there, would have. It's okay. Welcome party. The boys are bopping. The margs are flowing. Had a good moment with, there's Jamie Westbrook, who was in the Yankees minor leaguer this year, one of Cole's good friends, Olympian. Good chatting with him, yucking it up. Chris Archer. Chris Archer became a big part of my weekend. And it was a fun coming together. And again, a little sad Trev wasn't there. Trevor Plouffe's a fairly calculated guy. Trevor keeps a Chris Archer pillow behind him in his recording studio. Think about that. Like, sometimes Trev puts a couple silly things out there, but it's also like, he has like Tyler Skaggs stuff. Like, that's Trevor's broadcasting thing. That's his image. That's important to him. And he has a Chris Archer pillow behind him, like constantly. And it's okay. Me and Arch talked a lot of ball for 2 days. Jess became a little frustrated with it. He likes talking about the hot topics. We're also diving into everything. I mean, and no baseball topic was safe. And he likes to deliver it in kind of question form. Like, he kind of likes to bring the topic together and send it at you and see what you got and back and forth. And that was a ton of fun. Like, loved yucking with him. A lot of great conversations. Definitely he came in with a little bit of a guard because the John Boy Chris Archer breakdown video, John was tough on Arch. That was before we thought any of this got to anyone, really. But Chris Archer did say, he's like, not much of what Jimmy said was wrong. He's like, I didn't want to end up on the bottom of the pile. I ended up on the bottom of the pile.
Love that one.
Talked a ton of ball, ebbs and flows. He just took the Dodgers kind of cool front office gig where he's going to be helping out a lot of the young guys. So that's fun. Let's see. Closing off the welcome. Had a good moment where I went to the bar, got a margarita. I got 3 margaritas. I was getting one for myself. I was getting one for Flaherty. Can drink tequila. Oh my God. That guy. Wow. So I went up. I think I was getting a margarita for myself and probably Flaherty. If you know me at all, my brain starts kicking into a gear, and it's like, well, I might as well get a 3. Like, someone else will have it, or I'm going to have it in another 25 minutes. So I'll get 3. So I go up, I order 3 margaritas. All right, Jake. Not in that voice at all. Turn around, it's Glass now. He just ordered margaritas, and he had an extra margarita. So now I've got 4 margaritas at Cole Tucker and Vanessa Hudgens' welcome party. Not my best look. But it had a good, that was me and Glass now first breaking down the wall. Like, let's be silly gooses because you're a silly goose. Mitch Keller, awesome dude, floating around. So welcome party goes, winds down, like on the beach, pretty cool. Go out to dinner. Jack, Flaherty and Archer and my Jess and Jack's girlfriend, who just posted on Instagram for the first time. So, whoa, big step there. Dinner got a little fuzzy for me. A lot of tequila, be honest. I will say this. I think I owe Chris Archer dinner because I do think the bill came out and I went a little alligator arm. I don't think I was strong enough with the arm. That's okay. I mean, definitely the low man at the table, literally and figuratively. But I told Arch that, owe him a dinner, whatever. Next day, wedding. Bus pickup time, if you've done a lot of wedding stuff. The bus is normally like 3:30, something like that if you're going to a venue. Bus is at 12:30. It's important to girls. Like, you got to do makeup and get ready and stuff or whatever. I was like, okay, whatever. Get in the bus. It's in the jungle, probably 45-minute bus ride. And it's like the roads are jungly. So you get out there. You're like, where are we? It's like this art museum in the middle of the jungle. Pretty wild place. There's baseball guys everywhere. I'm in a slightly weird spot because I'm not sure how I want to operate this. Bobby Dahlbeck. Bobby Dahlbeck. Had one nice combo with him, just briefly. Yeah, he's a dude. He's a dude. All these guys, like, you have to think, the baseball players that ended up at Cole Tucker's wedding are all dudes. Like, sometimes it doesn't have to be more complicated than that.
Cole doesn't exactly attract a lot of bad people.
Yes. Let's see. Who else? So, crazy scene. We walked into a place. You had to, like, take off your shoes. That was pretty wild and scary for me. I just wear Nike socks because I'm going to be dancing, so I just want my comfortable athletic socks. So I was like, oh, shit. Like, now I'm going to be just the guy wearing his Nike socks. Everyone went barefoot, so I was like, okay, I'll go barefoot too, and that's a good way to hide it.
That's your out.
The other thing that was awesome about Archer, Trev's one of the biggest fake fashion people I know. Like, Trev was texting me about this wedding for a while, sending outfits. Flaherty's a huge fashion guy, so he's hitting Trev on that side. Arch was at the welcome party, which, again, Vanessa and Cole. There's other celebrities there and shit. Arch was just T-shirt and, like, basketball shorts. And I was like, I really like that. Like, a lot of people were trying to flex their Tulum outfits. Arch was like, oh, I'm comfy. He's like, I was told beach attire, so this is what I wore.
We're at the beach.
He also, he had, like, athletic socks on, so that made me feel good. Anyways, barefoot through this whole thing, artsy, jungle scene, whatever. And then on the other side, put your shoes back on, and it was this whole indoor, outdoor, just, like, beautifully artistic. If you're someone on Instagram that gets images of, like, AI places, like, I don't know if everyone gets that. I get some of that stuff. It'll be like, ooh, look at this potential house on Lake Como in Italy. And it'll be like, AI made this house. And I'll be like, okay, so this isn't real? That's the place we were at, though. It was like in the jungle in Tulum. Ceremony was really nice. Only got to talk to Vanessa a couple times. I mean, weddings are absolute chaos, but she was cool. Jess made fun of me because the first time I said hi, I basically was like, I'm such a big fan of your husband, like half fanboyed over Cole to his wife, but who's also a big fan. So that I took that as a nice moment. Jess made fun of me. Ceremony was really nice, incredible. The Tucker brothers, my God. Dookie was king of the world, still is. And Big Bro Quinn, I hadn't gotten to talk with him yet, but he's the guy. He's the big bro for a reason. And then, yeah, the night took off. We were kind of in a, 12:30 bus. By the time you're sitting down for dinner and stuff, 5:15, 5:30 or whatever, that's, you've already put in a day. Tequila started flowing. Again, big Jack Flaherty. Was trying to keep up with him and did a little bit. Jess said she was impressed with me, but I did get pretty twisted up. Like to the point where there's no cell phones at the ceremony, which was kind of nice, right? Everyone detaches a little bit. Although I was crazy. If you're Tyler Glass now, like, trade rumors flying. I don't know. You could, for 12 hours, you just don't know.
Cody might be offered a contract that starts with 2.
Right? Belly Belly was one of the groomsmen. Him and Cole grew up together. At one point he was looking a little, I don't know. They were standing on like kind of a weird area for a little bit, and it looked like Cody might have been like going down. He was fine. He was fine. Oh, a famous guy like conducted the ceremony. I don't know what I'm supposed to. I think there's already like a Vogue article and stuff on it, so I think I'm good. This will mean something to some people. Jay Shetty. He's like a very famous, I don't know. I think
I know the face.
He was becoming a monk, and now he's not, and so he's like the spiritual leader guy. He's who introduced them kind of over the Zoom that they met at, so that was a big thing for a lot of people. And then, I mean, here's what I'll tell you, and these should be my closing notes on it, because the rest of the vacation was great. Me and Jess went to a really quiet resort, which was kind of crazy how quiet it was, but it was actually really peaceful. And then we went to a resort that was like a bunch of resorts in one, and I don't know, all of it was incredibly nice. Our table that I mentioned a lot earlier in this episode, we all sit down, and there's like assigned seat, like you have a little name tag. So the way it was set up, the three guys sat up next to each other, Arch, Glass, and Flaherty. Got two girls, myself, and then I think it was Tyler's girlfriend, Megan. So I'm separated from the guys. The more life changes, the more life stays the same. The guys start talking ball, so I'm just kind of across the table, half drooling. And the girls are not really talking ball. And then, I'll tease it that we did rearrange, that I traded, and then so it was a guy's side of the table, girl's side of the table. Everyone talked about what they want to talk about. It worked out. I do some of the funniest moments in my head because, me and Arch let it eat. I very much understand why he's one of Trev's guys. That there would be a couple times before we did the seat rearrange, Archer was sitting in the middle of them, and so they would bring up like a baseball topic. And Glass now would say something about, the Rays organization does this, a topic that I would be super interested in, right? And Archer would hear that conversation begin, and he would just look at me like, "You hearing this?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, man, I'm absolutely hearing this." So that was really fun. The whole thing is kind of a blur and pretty crazy. I can't thank Cole and V enough for letting me be a part of it. And man, just wild. Glad Trev missed it.
Getting ahead of YouTube comments, I think people are going to enjoy the Glass now and Archer at the same table and chatting and like each other.
Well, that's what I was. Well, yeah. That was a good. That was a good Archer reaction. Because he was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Just people bring up that trade a lot." People bring up that trade a lot. I explained that to Jess because again, Jess not super in tune with old Pirates Rays trades.
This point was a long time ago.
And right. And she was like, "Ooh, that's like really interesting." And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And she was like, "Do they not like each other?" And I was like, "Again, these are the baseball players that are at Cole Tucker's wedding.
There are guys out there that would not like each other over that.
They're good.
They're good.
They're good." So that was a lot. Jam-packed episode. A lot going on in the baseball world. A lot going on in my world. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed Zoe and Beebs. I had my solo Soto rant. Didn't even really talk Soto. I guess we'll have to talk about that, talking Yanks and everywhere else.
Guess so.
Hey.
I think it'll come up.
Thank you guys. We love you. Subscribe, preview, and we'll see you Wednesday.